Every decision that you make has consequences, even the smallest decisions.
Consequences are more important than decisions. Don't ever make a decision more important than a consequence, because decisions give birth to consequences. People normally say if you make a decision, you got to live with it. That is not true. You live with the consequences.
When you are exposed to things, it gives you options. Options give you choices, and choices require decisions. It is critically important that you make this next step into sound decisions.
Are you making yourself better? Or are you making yourself worse? Are you moving forward or are you moving back? Are you making progress or are you stagnating? Every little decision you make counts.
Some people are afraid to make decisions. They just contemplate the options for years and miss the opportunity to change their life because they miss the time factor that is involved in making a great decision.
So what you must do before you make any decision in life is don't study the decision. Make sure you exhaust every possible means to study the consequences. Do your research, get information, check all the alternatives, study the options, check those who already made that decision, and read their life, study their life, find out everything before you make a decision.
Deciding to decide, to act, is a major, major challenge for all of us. And there are things that happen to us along the way, experiences that we have that prevent us from working through the mental block of acting. And so what I want you to think about is, what is there that you know you need to do, but for some reason or another, you've been holding back? For some reason or another, you just have not been able to gather your nerves or be able to work through the procrastinating or putting it off or justifying or blaming. Some reason or another, you just haven't done it.
When you look at your life, very important to focus on the examples of other people of what it takes to live the kind of life that you desire. You want to make it in life? Perseverance is important, persistence is important, and you got to believe in you. And you got to trust God that things are going to work out.
You can do goal setting with a pencil, but you have to do goal getting with your legs. And it's the action that separates us. The greatest gap in this world is the gap between knowing and doing. Knowing is goal setting. Doing, now that's goal achieving. You got to take action.
This attitude is rarely found. Well, anyway, if you've been troubled by the old familiar human malady of running up too many roads and trying to run up more than one at a time, pick the one out of all of them which seems to offer the most promise, forget all the rest, and dig a deep, straight highway to your goal in life. You'll be amazed at how quickly it can be reached, and the time will pass anyway.
A lot of people think that what's possible in their lives is strictly determined by where they came from and what happened to them. No, you have no idea how far you can go, how far you can stretch, how far you can reach. So you got to take that thing and hold on to that and figure out, well, how can I apply this into my life? You know, I take this might be the day mentality that everything comes together for me. You don't know what's possible in your life. You have no idea how far you can reach, how far you can stretch. You have no idea.
The happiest people on earth are those who are emotionally involved in what they're doing. This calm, cool, collected bit is all right for cows, camels, and turtles, but it'll never produce a great sermon, symphony, business, piece of architecture, painting, marriage, or the miracle of a child. When you lose the excitement and heightened feeling of emotion in what you're doing, you'd best look around for something else.
Being successful, y'all, is not a magic trick. You have to learn the principles of success. You can be successful at anything. You really can, man. I don't have no education. I'm telling you, God has an incredible life for you. All you got to do is ask him for it. Be willing to put in the work. But now this work part is hard. Success is hard. But let me ask you a question. Ain't not being successful hard too?
You cannot reach your destiny dragging people along, trying to keep everyone happy.
Life is like an elevator. The higher you go up, like those spaceships, they let certain stuff off because it's too heavy. Yet some people just too heavy when it comes to drama. When you have goals and dreams and you want to fine tune your life and approach to life, you want to create a drama-free zone.
What else is in you? Who are you ignoring? Is there a version of you you're ignoring? So think about that stuff and really begin to ask yourself, am I satisfied where I am? And start listening to that voice inside of you saying, hey, listen, it's whispering right now, but it's calling you. It's saying there's something more. There's something else. There's something else you can get.
Deciding to keep your word. If you just decide, I'm going to keep my word. If I say something, I'm going to do it regardless. Being more considerate, more disciplined, being more adventurous. Find something that you can look at your life that you say, hey, I know I've got a problem in this area, being late. I need to take care of that. Procrastinating, I need to deal with that.
For things to change, you have to change. I was hoping the government would change and taxes would change. I wished for everything to change. And my teacher said, no, Mr. Rohn, for things to change for you, you have to change. Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. And here's the big one. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. You simply need more skills.
Stop telling the old story. Here's the truth. Nobody cares. No one cares if you've had a setback. No one cares if you had a victory. And none of those failures, none of those setbacks, none of those victories, and that old character you keep playing is the very thing that will prevent you from becoming this new version of you.
Not taking care of business, being seriously not serious. Creating an imbalance in my life where I'm spending more time looking at television or having social fun and not spending enough time working on me. See, most people, ladies and gentlemen, spend more time working on their jobs than they spend working on themselves.
It's a story if you're stuck. It's an old story you're telling with an old character that was last year's version, last decade's version. Who's the new character? What's the new script? What's the new story?
I don't want to spend the second half of my life repeating the dumb stuff that I did in the first half of my life. Give me the grace, if you will. Give me the mercy, if you please, to make a good decision so that I can eat the fat of the land. I'm not stupid. I just made stupid decisions. I'm not bad. I just made bad decisions. I'm not weak. I just made weak decisions. There are a lot of things you think about you. It's not really you. It's your decisions.
Do you know where to hide when discouragement comes flying past your head? Or do you run to the same enemy that is attacking you in an effort to hide? I'm not talking about physical places, because the hiding places that we create that destroy us are usually the ones in our heart. Emotional states. When attacks come, I've learned where to run. And the reason that I'm moving forward in my life this year isn't because I won't be attacked. It's because I know what to run to when I am.
You see, a dream, when you get it, will encourage you. There's something about a dream that brings encouragement and joy to people's lives. It gives you excitement. It encourages you. The people who are discouraged are the people who don't have a dream. Because when you have a dream, it makes you get up in the morning. It makes you put your clothes on and go to work because you've got a dream, and a dream has the power to encourage you.
But if we're not conscious of dropping a thought or a behavior that's no longer needed. We take old thoughts, old behaviors that served an old version of ourselves into trying to become the new version of ourselves. So ask yourself that question. What do I need to drop that's no longer needed? Is it a person? Is it a thought? Is it a behavior? Or is it an emotion?
Your personal philosophy is like a guidance system that helps you make decisions what to do, what not to do. From the information you get and what you learn and what you know, we decide. Maybe your philosophy would have been 5 years ago never to attend seminars like this. You just didn't go. Now 5 years later, here you are. Something happened along the way. So now that little amendment in your philosophy, you now say, I'm going to regularly go. Because it doesn't take but a few ideas to make a great difference in your income, personal life, social life, and all the rest. A change of mind, a change of idea. The more we learn, the more we know, the better we're able to make better decisions.
So what is the worst thing that can happen? I want you to visualize that, experience that, feel the nervousness and the discomfort. And the more you run it in your mind, the less power that it will have.
Your philosophical guidance system does two things. Number one, helps you to see the dangers on one side, so you can avoid those. But here's what else your guidance system does. Helps you to see the opportunities on the other side, so that you can expand those, maximize those. And here's what that's called. The game of life is to minimize the dangers and maximize the opportunities. And the more we know and the more we learn, the more experience we gather, helps us to keep continually adjusting our philosophical guidance system so that we minimize more dangers, maximize more opportunities. That's really the game of life.
Stop hanging out with people that make you look good by how little they know, and so you can condescend to them, so that you can be a great fish in a small pond. Get around people who make you feel stupid because they stretch you, they make you grow, they make you read, they make you study, they stretch you. They expose you to great information, and then you can make great decisions.
No matter what's going on in your life, you can be happy and so blessed that people will envy you and envy your life. No matter what's going on in your life. Now that blessing is attached to a moral excellence or a virtue of soul called the poor in spirit, which really means the humble-minded, those who are totally dependent on God, and those who don't think that they're better than other people.
Have you ever had anybody turn on you? It's one thing to have an enemy. I don't have no problem with that, because if I know you're my enemy, I dress for you. I come in there prepared, because I already know you and me, we don't do each other. We don't do that. So, okay. But the heart cracks when somebody who fought with you now fights against you.
The future is actually the place where there is threat. And it's always going to be there. So what do? You make sacrifices in the present so that the future is better. Everyone does that. That's what you're doing right now. That's what you're doing here. It's amazing. You can bargain with reality. You can forestall gratification now. And it'll pay off at a place and time that doesn't even exist yet. Who would have believed that? It's like that's a miracle that occurs.
Learn number one from your own experiences, and learn number two from other people's experiences. If you want to live a dynamic life, multiplying your income, multiplying your future, be a good student. If a good idea comes your way, write it down, then ponder it, then perhaps go do it. Your philosophy comes from what you learn, comes from what you know, comes from other people's experiences.
Humans have an unreal capacity to get great at things, even if they don't have a natural talent for it, if they're immersed in it, and to learn something and acquire a ton of knowledge in a short period of time as well. Society is conspiring all the time in our culture to completely distract you so you never win. And they get these different things on television and our phones and in our lives to just get us distracted so we never get obsessed. We never get laser focused for an extended period of time.
People without vision perish, and they die in a life of mediocrity. They die with their dreams still in them. They die living a misplaced life. making the cemetery rich in Miles Monroe anger.
So for me, my brain's saying, that's it, right there. Move as fast as a rocket, Mel. I wanted to change my life. And I think most people that are miserable or that are really like dying to be great, we want to change. We want to live a better life. We want to create more for our families. We want to be happier. The desire is there. It's about how do you go from knowledge to action.
If you do something often enough, a ratio will appear. Key phrase, if you do something often enough, a ratio will appear. It's amazing. In baseball, we call it batting average. If you talk to 10 people, one says yes. Now the ratio has begun. 1 out of 10. Here's something interesting about the law of averages. Once it starts, it tends to continue.
I talk a lot about your instincts and inner wisdom. When you set goals, when you have an intention on something that you want to change about your life, your brain helps you. What it does is it opens up a checklist, and then your brain goes to work trying to remind you of that intention that you set. And it's really important to develop the skill of knowing how to hear that inner wisdom and that intention kicking in and leaning into it quickly.
If you're in a negative vibration, the only thing you can attract to you is something negative. How do you change? Well, one good way is consciously pick the people you associate with. Pick with people who are winning. Go mix with them. Do what they do.
But it's hard to let go of what you've been holding on to for so long, even if it's not working anymore. It's really hard to let go. It's like, beg you, see it differently. I beg you to let go. It's not normal. It's just old.
It's time to drop it and move forward. You may be a product of your past, but you don't have to be a prisoner of your past.
Everything that's inflexible and everything that's not ready and everything that's backwards and everything that's negative and everything that's carnal and everything that's holding me back, I refuse to take it over into another year and waste another new year with an old mind. The devil is a lie.
Just because you're used to it doesn't make it normal.
Some of you are taking too much time trying to convince people to love you that do not matter. Tolerating and trying to get people engaged that don't matter, that don't care, that are never ever going to help you get into your destiny.
I came to preach to somebody who everybody else might have given up on you. And life might not be where you want it to be, and you might not have been what you could have been, but it's not too late to become who you are.
Depending on anybody else. It don't matter what your mama think. It don't matter what your coworkers think. It don't matter what your siblings think. It don't matter. This decision is yours and yours alone.
People want to know how to stop the laziness, and they want to know how to stop the procrastination. They have some idea in their head, some kind of a vision, what they want to do, but they don't know where to start. They don't know where to start it. They don't know where to start. And so they say, hey, where do I start? And when's the best time to start? And I have a very simple answer for that. Here and now.
God may be giving you more to work with than what you are working with at this time. You may have far more things that you can potentially do than what you're doing right now. That's why I don't like to hang with low-thinking people, because they'll make you underutilize what God has given you. You need somebody to challenge you that you could be doing more than what you're doing right now. You could have more than you have right now, and somebody's got to be bold enough to look you in the face and empower you to go into the enemy's camp and take back what he stole from you.
For every time you have a plan, a dream, an aspiration, or a goal, do you know what happens every time you have one of those? This thing comes along called life. Life is hard. It happens to everybody. Life has disappointment. It's got peaks and valleys. You're going to lose somebody you care about one day. That's a valley. Somebody going to close the plant you thought was going to stay open so you can retire. That's a valley. Somebody going to fire you for an unjust cause. That's a valley. Because it's life. You can stop thinking that life fitting to be easy, because I got news for you, it ain't.
And those problems you think you've got right now, when do problems really become problems? My problem becomes a real problem when I lose my perspective. My problem becomes a real problem when I give up and I just say, forget it. Your problem becomes a real problem when you start feeling sorry for yourself and have a pity party. Your problem becomes a real problem when you get bitter and you start blaming everybody else for your unhappiness. That's the real problem.
Guys and gals, don't give up. Man, if you get to the point where you're kind of weary and you're going, I'm facing struggles at every turn, don't give up.
You just need some faith, man. Faith don't make it easy. Faith makes it possible.
We find ourselves announcing our standards to our relatives, our friends, our associates. We shout our beliefs and condemn those who believe any differently, but then we don't walk the talk. We end up acting in a way far different from the beliefs we've shouted. This is inconsistent. This leads to a loss of credibility among those who watch us. And more importantly, this leads to a loss of credibility within ourselves. The only thing worse than one who is inconsistent in applying their self-imposed disciplines is one who has never considered the need or the value of discipline at all.
So what kind of courage do you have? Is yours sort of floating between depending on the situation, or do you know the difference between right and wrong for your life? And you've made up your mind. Our mind is the control tower of our life. All of our decisions are there. And the truth is, whatever we are today is the result of what we've been thinking about all those years. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So if you don't like what's going on around you, maybe you should ask yourself the question, what am I thinking about? What do I think about myself? What do I think about other people? What we think about is really what controls us. This is a control tower, that everything else is a result of how we think. And we can't control everybody else in control of all of our circumstances, but we are going to respond to circumstances in one way or the other. And so what you have to ask is this: what is it that determines what I think? This mind of yours controls everything else in your life.
Are you satisfied with your life as it is? Are you? Is your life giving you what you want? If you had your life to live over again, could you have done more than what you've done thus far? When I ask audiences that, most people agree, yes, I could have done more. I know I could have done more. I've wasted a lot of valuable time. You're going to lose something, lose money. You can recapture that. Don't lose.
See, stress is God's way of training you. But what most people do is, see, once you get stressed, you don't want that no more. So now you give up, you through. Nobody likes stress. But in order to develop and to change and to grow, stress is necessary. A seed got to have dirt put on top of it. But guess what? In my mind, it doesn't make sense that to grow something, you should dig a hole and cover it with dirt. But oh, though. See, dirt is necessary. Dirt builds character. Dirt gives you the push-through factor. And dirt ain't always what you want. It's somebody talking about you down on your job. It's somebody accusing you of something that you didn't do. It's somebody sharing information about you that ain't true. But see, when you're getting put under that stress, see, that dirt builds character in you. When they talking about you, it teaches you to withstand it. When people talking about you, dogging you, stealing from you, talking about you, they're actually putting nutrients in you. They're building character. You got character now. Because now the seed sprout open and start coming through the dirt. See, you want to be successful, well, then you got to prove yourself. You got to push through the dirt. You got to come out, then you sprout, then you become a tree. Next thing you know, you got fruit. So when you under stress, take the stress for what it is.
Stress is an indicator. It lets you know you're at your limits. It does not mean that you cannot do it, but it does mean you have to change something. You have to change structure or strategy. And the one thing that you can count on is there will always be change. Whether it is good change or bad change, there will always be change. And generally there will be both. But you learn as much from your failures as you do from your successes. I think one of the most difficult things that can happen to people in leadership is to step into leadership that you didn't grow and that you didn't groom because you don't know where the issues are. We often, when we select leaders or we want to evaluate people or we want to choose staff, we quickly want to know about their IQ because we're trying to find out in a nice way, are you smart? The second thing that we really need to be asking is your EQ. I'm talking about your emotional quotient. Because many, many times you can have people on your team and on your side who have the intellectual ability to do what you're trying to get them to do, but they do not have the emotional wherewithal, and you don't know it till you get on the ride. It's like me. You know, I think I look like a fairly strong, macho guy, and I am, until you put me on a ride on Six Flags. I mean, I turned into a little 5-year-old girl in the ride. I'm not good on the ride. I'm good going up. It's the going down that drives me crazy. What you want to know is, can you handle the down ride? Do you have the emotional maturity to go through the highs and the lows of what it takes to be successful? Because if you're going to be successful, you learn from the lows how to ride on the highs. So if you can't take the dip, you can't take the climb. Not lose your head, not freak out, even though you want to. You can do it on the inside, but on the outside, you have to maintain your cool. Because there is nothing as frightening as a frightened leader. I don't know anything about flying a plane, but this is how I evaluate the trouble on the plane. I've gotten used to the turbulence. I've flown all over the world, and I don't get nervous until the people up front get nervous. If you have somebody conveying a message with panic and terror, you just start freaking out. That's what happens when you hire somebody who has the IQ but doesn't have the EQ to handle the ride, who freaks under pressure, and they just fall apart under pressure. But here's the thing that is most important, and there is no test for it. Their AQ. AQ is your adaptability quotient. How do you respond to change? When you hire somebody or you move into a position or you open up a company or you start a business, it's a lot like getting married. I know she looks beautiful today and everything is wonderful and he's smelling good. He just came from the barbershop and everything's just great today. But do you take this woman to have and to hold, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health? But you're saying I do to something that you've never seen. I could deal with you sick, but I didn't know you got hateful when you got sick. I didn't know that when we get broke, you're going to freak and panic and move out and go back to your mother, for better or for worse. And so I'm saying I do to some blank circumstances, and I'll spend the next 20 years trying to figure out, do I? And that's a lot like going into business, and that's a lot like being successful, and that's a lot like hiring people. You kind of get some kind of flow, and we say, do you? And they say, I do, and then you hire them, and then you think, do you? And let me tell you, I'm not sure which is the most challenging, the ride up or the ride down. Because success can be just as daunting as failure is. If you can't adapt quickly enough to it, you will lose it. A blessing isn't a blessing if you can't handle it.
We all love to be blessed, our business taking off. We meet the person of our dreams. But here's the key. The blessing doesn't come by itself. But with that blessing is going to come opposition, criticism, people that are not for you. The question is not so much, can you handle the blessing? The question is, can you handle the persecution? All your friends won't be happy when you get that promotion, when your business increases, when you get engaged. Don't get upset. It's not about you, it's about the blessing on your life. If you can handle the persecution, then God can trust you with the blessing.
You could be praying to win something that you can't handle if you get it. What you need as a leader and as a thinker is not just the success to get there, but the success to stay there, sustainability. How many of you have ever seen a dog chase a car? And maybe the dog gets lucky and catches a car at a red light or something like that, but there's one thing that the dog never considered. I can't drive. You might be chasing after something that you can't run. It's not just about getting there, it's sustainability after you get there. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to get it. I don't care what comes in my way. See, you do that, make faces in the mirror, get yourself ready, go get it. Get it. Get it. But can you run it after you get it? So the whole issue, the only thing that should be stable in your ride to success is you. And if you're not a person who can be stable in the ride, you shouldn't get in the car. So what do you do when it's bad news? The best thing to do with bad news is to deliver a clear message. Clear messaging creates clear expectation, which avoids disappointment. It is not what happens to you that matters, it is how you handle it. Are you getting what I'm saying?
Because things happen to you in life. And many times when those things happen, you want to give up.
Sometimes it goes well. Sometimes it gets in a knot. The last 6,000 years reads like this: opportunity mixed with difficulty. It isn't going to change.
But like I always say, life is 10% what happens to you. It's 90% what you do about it.
And the reason is because what happens to about everybody. And I found out that the same things can happen to two different people. One gets rich and one stays poor. Why is that? It's because it's not what happens, it's what you do. I've fallen out of the sky so many times. But it's not the happenings, it's what you do about it. I used to blame the weather, and I discovered it rains on the rich. The only way it gets better for you is when you get better. Starting tomorrow, what are you going to do that'll make a change in your life's direction? It's choice time. You can do whatever you want. But it's nice to know any day you wish you can change your whole life.